Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
We begin with breaking news, a fire in Spring Valley. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jade Hindman in for Maya Trabolsi. It started this afternoon in the backyards of two neighboring homes on St. George Street. That fire put more homes at risk, prompting an evacuation order. KPBS reporter MG Perez joins us live with the latest. MG, what's happening now?
Jade, we can tell you that evacuation order lasted just about an hour before it was quickly lifted. This all started about 1 o'clock this afternoon when investigators tell us a fire broke out in the backyards of these two adjoining homes at 9805 and 9809 St. George here in Spring Valley. Then the flames spread to that very tall Italian cypress tree, and that is when investigators say the threat really became urgent, because embers from the tree drifted 2 blocks away, threatening a mobile home park. We're told that firefighters were able to quickly extinguish the fire that was started 2 blocks away. Therefore, there is no longer a threat, and it did damage to about an acre of land. Back here on St. George Street, of course, though, there are the victims. We talked to the family here at 9805 St. George, Tammy Anderson, who told us what happened.
It was real bad, with a whole bunch of firefighters and the police. Thanks to the police and thanks to the firefighters, but they have to come on, hurry up and they have a long time response time for us.
How long did it take?
An hour.
An hour to get here?
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I feel like if we wasn't fire, if one of us wasn't fired, then they would not have. They would have been rushing.
Miss Anderson told us that her family is hoping the Red Cross comes through with shelter for them tonight. Jade, it is fire season, and this is the kind of threat that we all need to be prepared for here in California. Fortunately, no injuries, and damage to the two homes was kept to the two homes. Live in Spring Valley, I'm MG Perez, KPBS News.
MG, thanks. Something we'll keep an eye on. Migrant shelters in Mexico are bracing for what's to come following new restrictions at the U.S. border. This week, President Joe Biden signed an executive order that shuts down asylum to migrants who cross the border illegally. KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis went to Tijuana to see how shelters are responding to this change.
We're outside of a Tijuana migrant shelter just 100 yards from the U.S.-Mexico border. Inside, humanitarian aid workers are reacting to President Joe Biden's executive order. The order severely limits asylum to migrants who cross the border illegally, and it fast-tracks deportations back here to Tijuana. The director of the shelter, Jose Maria Lara, was worried that shelters all over Tijuana will be overrun by migrants impacted by this new policy. Specifically, they're worried that more migrants will come north seeking to enter the U.S., and more deportees will come south, getting kicked out of the U.S. All of them stuck in Tijuana, creating a bottleneck with nowhere else to go. Local shelters are asking the Mexican and U.S. governments to send them money to help them treat this vulnerable population.
Y causaría un problema muy grave en los diferentes albergues de la ciudad, ya que estarían muy llenos.
There are roughly 30 migrant shelters like this one in Tijuana, and directors are worried. Even though they're about 50% capacity right now, they believe more migrants could quickly overflow the system and create another migrant crisis in Tijuana. They're specifically worried about migrants not having enough shelter and creating encampments outdoor in the middle of the city, thus creating very vulnerable conditions for women and children traveling alone.
O que mande recursos económicos a México para que se pueda atender debidamente esta comunidad.
In Tijuana, I'm Gustavo Solis for KPBS News.
And graduating students who took part in the Gaza Solidarity encampment protest at UC San Diego last month are now facing a critical situation. They might not be able to graduate with their peers. The university has placed their transcripts and degrees on hold. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen says UCSD's unionized workers held a rally today to support those students.
I'm a graduating senior whose degree has been withheld by the university.
This student, who spoke to our partner 10 News Thursday, says he had no warnings about the hold. He did not want to be identified for fear of additional discipline. He was among the students arrested while participating in the Gaza Solidarity encampment protest last month on the UC San Diego campus. 7 of the students arrested were set to graduate this month, but they can't with the administrative hold UCSD placed on their student accounts, pending an investigation for violating the Student Code of Conduct. Today, members of UAW 4811, the union representing more than 48,000 academic workers across the state, including at UCSD, held a rally in support of students' right to free speech. They have been on strike for several weeks over the issue. Maya Gostila is a graduate student researcher at UCSD.
I think it's absolutely horrific that the university claims to be doing all these things to protect safety and protect education. Clearly, all of us here in this crowd today think that this is unacceptable and they need to let these students graduate.
The students are now marching to Chancellor Kochler's home to demand amnesty for the students affected.
When they arrest and beat and unjustly discipline our coworkers for speaking their convictions in their workplace.
They also demand his ouster. Tazeen Nizam of the Council on American Islamic Relations in San Diego says the community is shocked the school would penalize students for exercising their First Amendment rights.
The arrest happened over a month ago. The university waited for a month, 10 days before graduation, to put a hold on their records, not allowing them to graduate at this time.
The school says the administrative hold is standard procedure. In a statement, the university says the border regions and the UC president have instructed campus to ensure that all students who are arrested on campus for violating the law must go through the applicable student conduct process. The school says it can't comment further because of student privacy laws. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
Well, this was a day of celebration in the Mountain Empire Unified School District, where just over 100 students are set to graduate next week. This morning, the high school seniors took a very special walk down memory lane. KPBS education reporter MG Perez was there.
Alvarez. It's one of the last bus rides of their high school career. Most of these seniors have attended classes in the Mountain Empire District since kindergarten. Now they are just days away from graduation.
It's always that thought in the back of your mind, like, oh, I'm graduating in 2 years, I'm graduating in a year, but it's becoming real right now that it's finally actually happening.
Before they walk across the stage to pick up their diplomas Tuesday night, these graduates are traveling to where it all began. Campo Elementary. Daniel Delgado remembers his first day of school because his mom will never let him forget it.
She dropped me off at the preschool and I told her in this exact way, I was like, you can leave now, Mom. I don't want to be over here anymore. So she always makes jokes about that.
There are cheers remembering the years that mattered to them most. 116 graduating seniors who all knew each other well because of the sprawling yet tight-knit rural community they shared.
You drive by the 8, you're heading to Phoenix or heading to Yuma, you drive right by here. You don't even know. There's a high school out here.
David Rios is the Mountain Empire High School principal who suggested the end-of-the-year senior walk down memory lane, an idea that had to include wheels to get students to 4 elementary campuses today.
These kids are going to go walk the halls to high fives, cheers, and hugs from teachers they had since kindergarten.
And when they arrived, the memories and love were everywhere.
Yeah, we used to play like football and we used to play tackle football. It was fun. Jesse! Oh my goodness!
I've been here for 12 years throughout the district, so it's a little uneasy leaving and you don't know what's going to happen after graduation. So I'm a little sad, but I'm mostly excited.
With a 4.42 GPA, Jonae Benton is the class valedictorian, headed to UCLA in the fall to begin work toward an MBA. Other seniors plan to start at a community college, join the military or the CHP. When you visit, they say you're coming up on the mountain, and it's a big one. The Mountain Empire School District covers 660 square miles, all the way to the Imperial County line and down to Mexico. 95% of the 1,800 students in TK to 12th grade ride the bus to get to school every day. That's where the memories are created and dreams of the future begin.
I'm going to attend Chico State and study biology.
And then?
I hope to become a fish and game warden.
Principal Rio says his graduates also have one more assignment before they go.
Not only for our kids to go there, but the kids who are at the elementary school, that's going to be me. That's going to be me, and when I get to high school, that's going to be me when I walk across the stage. That's what I'm going to look like.
Mission accomplished. MG Perez, KPBS News.
What a great story. And some high-tech high students are wrapping up the school year with an internship in developing video games. Coming up, how they're coding their way to college and a future career. Well, the U.S. job market is hot right now. The Labor Department's jobs report for May shows hourly wages continue to climb, but there's a flip side. Laura Aguirre explains why an improving labor market could still ding your budget.
On the surface, the nation's workforce has a lot to celebrate Friday. The Labor Department reports the U.S. economy added 272,000 new jobs last month, soaring well past the estimate of many economists, and over 100,000 more than were added in April. Some employees may be feeling a slight uptick in their paychecks. Hourly pay inched up about 14 cents from April, or 0.4%. Bringing the national average hourly wage to just under $35. Also looking closely at the May jobs report is the Federal Reserve.
There are paths that the economy could take, which would cause us to want to consider rate cuts.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell has signaled that one path is getting inflation down to 2%. But as of April, that rate was 3.4%, and May's rate comes out next week.
Another path could be, an unexpected weakening in the labor market, for example.
Friday's job report showed no such sign of weakening, leaving many investors to forecast the Fed will hold interest rates steady until at least December. If you're looking for a new job, the Labor Department says education and health services, government, hospitality, construction, and retail are among the fastest growing sectors for opportunity. I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
Well, small businesses and nonprofits impacted by devastating floods in January received a financial boost today. The city of San Diego awarded more than $365,000 through its Business Emergency Response and Resilience Grant. Eligible small businesses and nonprofits could apply to receive up to $2,500 or up to $5,000 for those in federally designated promise zone and low moderate income areas. The Rubio's fast food chain closed dozens of locations this week, including many where it got its start here in San Diego. SDSU's Miro Kopik shares his thoughts on what's next for the brand in the Friday Business Report.
Well, this is the second bankruptcy that Rubio's has filed in less than 4 years. They're big enough, but not big enough to market aggressively in the marketplace. And so they're struggling in today's environment that kind of is a combination of, the inflation has really pushed up costs. And then at the same time, consumers have pulled back going to quick service restaurants or fast casual restaurants. So right now what's going to happen is in bankruptcy, the lender is going to create an entity that's called a stalking horse purchase agreement, and they're going to solicit bids for someone to acquire Rubio's. And the lender also committed to keeping the remaining locations, including 29 here in San Diego County and their original Rubio's on Mission Bay Drive in Pacific Beach, open, because not only it'll help with cash flow, but in particular it'll keep employees paid and benefits paid.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the News Hour, the latest jobs report shows a surge in hiring. We look at how young people are re-engaging with the workforce. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Well, as the San Diego City Council reviews Mayor Todd Gloria's proposed budget for 2025 today, some community members are voicing their opposition to one of his proposals to address homelessness.
I am not personally one of the people opposed to shelter, but I am opposed to a lack of a collaborative approach.
Well, that was Shane Harris, president of the People's Association of Justice Advocates. He and other residents are concerned about the possibility of a mega shelter in Middletown. Gloria's budget calls for a safe sleeping site near the San Diego airport and a 1,000-bed shelter on the corner of Kettner and Vine. Residents question the proposed lease length of 35 years and the potential costs.
Who's going to pay for this? Yeah, Kensington, Miramar, Claremont, you're going to pay for this, not just us.
I cannot fathom how the politicians think putting 1,000 people in this sardine can is humane.
Well, advocates are asking the mayor to put a pause on any lease discussions and start hosting public forums for the community to weigh in. There will be another city council closed session to discuss the shelter on Monday. Californians will soon get faster and more accurate alerts about incoming earthquakes. The U.S. Geological Survey and its nonprofit partner EarthScope announced an upgrade to the state's early warning system. It will provide a more accurate estimate of the quake's magnitude before it starts. Northern California residents will also receive tsunami warnings. Alerts for quakes rated 4.5 or higher will be sent automatically through the MyShake app. It's been 5 years since the San Luis Rey Band of Mission Indians held their annual intertribal powwow. Well, this weekend, the event is making a comeback at the Mission San Luis Rey in Oceanside. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne has a preview.
The grass is getting mowed and the instruments are warming up.
We've been a part of the powwow community for so long. For like 23 years, and then COVID happened.
Mel Vernon is the captain of the San Luis Rey Band of Mission Indians. He says powwows happen all throughout the year and around the country. Their return is plugging his tribe back into the powwow circuit.
And it brings us together as the native people of this local area. So it's a time for us to have community and share and catch up with each other again. Just show a welcoming spirit to what we're doing, and that's really what it's all about.
This will be the 24th annual San Luis Rey Intertribal Powwow, which means all tribes and dancers in the area are welcome.
You're going to see dancers that are coming maybe for the first or second time dancing and as a youth, and you're going to see some dancers that have been dancing for quite a while, so it's a combining of the seniors and the youth, the elders and the youth.
While the mission grounds are lined with Franciscan history, Vernon says the powwow highlights the important role Native Americans played in the mission's inception.
But it gives us a chance to actually plug into the present and not necessarily focus on the past, because we're here for accepting what's happened in a certain way, but we're projecting towards the future and make it a positive for everybody, for their tribes, the people, and the mission, as we're a part of it.
Our relationship with the tribe continues to grow. It's a really important relationship for us, and we think for them as well.
Gwen Grimes is the executive director of the mission. She says that while the property has undergone some changes, they will continue to work with the San Luis Rey Band of Mission Indians to keep their history present and celebrated.
And so we want to just always be able to support each other. And so we open up the mission grounds and to the powwow.
Traditional food and arts and crafts will be on sale to the public. Festivities will run Saturday from 9 a.m. until 11 p.m. and Sunday from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Of course, we have had a lot of heat over the past couple of days, especially through our desert locations. That's going to be easing off. So some great news as we head into the weekend, getting a bit of a reprieve as the heat eases. And as always, we have the coastal comfort. That doesn't go anywhere. We're going to keep the June gloom around before we get more sunshine through the afternoons, and breezy conditions lead to more of a southwest wind that'll help keep that marine layer pretty intense for us as we go through the weekend. And not only that, it'll also make the mountains a little bit breezy out there, so you'll want to be ready for that. As we head through tonight, there's that marine layer going down to 62 in San Diego, 61 in Escondido, and Mount Laguna headed towards 60 degrees for the low. As we go through the weekend, again, southwesterly flow will ultimately kick in, so we're going to see more of that onshore wind come through for us, and that really does deepen a little bit more of the marine layer. But not only that, it allows that heat to stay well inland. So we are going to see that heat shifting a little farther away from our area, which is why Borrego Springs back to 104 for that high. As you look towards San Diego, 70 degrees for the day. And tomorrow we'll be at 74 in Oceanside, Chula Vista coming in at 70 degrees. So there is, again, a lot of that coastal comfort. Coast forecast for the upcoming days here, keeping us in the 70s all through it. There's some fluctuation here of mid 70s to lower 70s, but ultimately it is about the low clouds in the morning, sunshine coming out in the afternoon, and really not much change after that. Inland communities, more of the same here. We're spot on in the mid 70s, so we are going to keep that trend right as we head through next week. Really no pattern break. Again, southwest flow, low clouds. Not much of a change. Mountain communities, we'll get a couple clouds to pop up as we head throughout the day. Notice the numbers here holding on to the 60s and 70s as we go throughout the time frame. So really just some subtle differences, some easement in the heat also found across the deserts with the triple digits for high temperatures, but thankfully the lower triple digits. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constancer.
Fire in Spring Valley that prompted an evacuation order. It started this afternoon in the backyards of two neighboring homes on St. George Street. This is the La Presa neighborhood of Spring Valley, north of Hamashaw Road. And firefighters say two homes are damaged and that strong winds blew embers toward a field about a half-mile away, igniting a brush fire. The evacuation order was lifted just before 3:30. Weather, though, is a concern right now with an excessive heat warning in place until 9 p.m. tonight in the eastern part of San Diego County, that is. The end of the school year could mean the beginning of a new chapter for some students at High Tech High. They just completed a month-long internship developing video games. KPBS education reporter and one of our busiest reporters today, MG Perez, tells us their mentors include a couple of their classmates at a school where students think way outside of the box.
Who's doing the lines for Curly? I want you at the head.
Hands-on, project-based learning is flourishing with these students who have created huge papier-mâché bird puppets made with beach balls, hot glue, paint, and bamboo.
Let's do one of Pirate's first lines. Oh, it's a hot day.
This group of freshman and sophomore students bring characters to life and act out the storybook titled Odd Bird. It's their end-of-year project here at Jacobs High Tech High in Point Loma. Down the hall, there's even more year-end creativity happening.
I think that change makes it much nicer to play.
17-year-old Axel O'Brien and 18-year-old Lorenzo Amitrano are graduating seniors who share a passion for computer coding and designing video games, skills they both started learning in elementary school. They also shared a solution to the problem of finding an unpaid 4-week internship not offered by a family member. It's a graduation requirement for every student in their junior year. Lorenzo struck out.
Game development has and always will be my passion, and so I emailed and called every single game development company in San Diego County, and they all ghosted me.
He ended up interning for a local architectural firm. His friend Axel was eventually able to find a web-related internship. But together, they wanted to help future High Tech High juniors passionate about programming and mentor them in meeting their internship requirement. But there was a short circuit in that plan, says Lorenzo.
We can't be official mentors since we don't have that college degree yet. We have the expertise and we are able to share it, but to fulfill that requirement, we had to team up with an organization.
This is Visual Studio Code, except it's running in a browser.
They teamed up with the League of Amazing Programmers, a San Diego-based nonprofit organization that teaches coding to kids and teens in 5th through 12th grade. One of the league's professional programmers has guided the senior duo in their internship program, offered to 6 of High Tech High's best and brightest students.
So can you tell me about what you've been working on here? So what that is?
Axel says his teaching career is off to a great start.
We ended up covering what we had planned to be about 2 weeks of material in 2 days, where everyone is super enthusiastic and they all bring something to the table. We are taking all the skills that we learned and we're combining them into one large game.
The game is called the Sahara Corporation, a shipping company taken over by AI controlling robots, except for one remaining loyal human worker named Dave. It's up to the high-tech high interns to create and code all that happens for players trying to keep Dave alive when the robots go rogue. Junior Desiree Burkhart helped in designing Dave and how he moves.
We wanted to design him like a basic human being. I just made it like a grabbing cosmetic, where before Dave's hand was like this, grabbing objects. Now it can close.
17-year-old Tiger Reese hopes this internship will inspire his plans for a career in screenwriting. He's one of Lorenzo's close friends, getting life lessons and learning.
He's totally coming forward and ready to help, and it's cool. We're still friends. We're even more friends now. And I just kind of sit with all of that, all the moving parts of it for a little while until I can find a way to put it all together to make sense and be kind of compelling and have characters go through a journey, personally and physically.
I believe it's on our Google Drive, right?
In the fall, Axel's journey takes him to Dartmouth to study computer science. Lorenzo will attend USC for a career in entrepreneurship.
I love having an idea and then seeing it come to life.
This idea will live on, programmed for the future. MG Perez, KPBS News.
Such bright students there. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jade Hindman. Have a great evening, everyone.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.